to the March 11, 2025, 7 p.m. Council on Aging meeting. I'll ask everyone present to please stand and join us with the pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3 on our agenda is public comment. I don't usually preface, but I'm going to preface tonight because I see we have 5 people signed up. If you're here to speak because you heard of a change in the date on the override, I don't foresee that as being a vote that will be changing at all tonight, so you don't have to speak to that. Given that, for public comment, we allow 21 minutes, 3 minutes per speaker. We only have 5 people signed up, so that should be more than enough to take care of everyone tonight. Mr. Milano will keep the total time of 21 minutes, and I will keep each speaker at 3 minutes. So I'll ask, please come, state your name, your address, and then if you get close to the 3 minutes, I'll let you know when you're at 30 seconds. Is that okay? Fair enough? It's okay. So I'll begin with Mr. Parent. Good evening and welcome. They're saying, we didn't sign up for this, Dad.
Welcome to
What did he promise you
to
to come up here with him? Just pull it up, pull it up close here.
Sure. Chair Wells, members of the board, my name is Ralph Parent, and my address is 83 Sassamon Ave. I'm here to share that we have a team in place, a strategy in motion, and a growing network of community members who are committed to ensuring that residents have the information they need to make an informed decision on April 29th. But there is one thing that we do not have, and that's an override amount. Every conversation that we have with residents come down to the same question. How much will the override cost me monthly? These are fair and important questions. Right now, we don't have a clear answer. It makes it very difficult to build trust, engage voters, and run an effective campaign. Chair Wells, in a meeting a couple of weeks ago, you made the comment to us that this campaign should have started 4 months ago.
I did.
Up until 3 weeks ago, we didn't know we would be running a campaign. For the love of this town, the protection of our education, and our services that we enjoy as a town, we volunteered to do this. We're doing everything we can to ensure transparency, accessibility, and education around the override. But until there's a final override amount, our hands are tied. We can't give voters the clarity they deserve, and we can't fully activate the campaign that we've prepared. The longer a decision is delayed, the harder it becomes to reach voters in a meaningful way. This override is about funding essential town services, our fire, our police department, our DPW, our library, our town administration, and our schools. We would like to ask you to hold firm on the April 29th election date, which you have, and to solidify an override amount that we at minimum maintain level funding that gives us a strong financial future.
My name is Harvey Perrin and I go to Collycott Elementary. My teacher is Miss Fitzsimmons. I'm here with my brother Hollis and his teacher is Miss Morgan. My sister Haven will start Collycott Elementary in September. We ask you to protect our schools and protect our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. This is big. It's cute.
Bring my squad tonight.
I was just going to say, I looked, I'm like, what happened?
Hi, my name is Lindsay Bigby. I live at 591 Blue Hills Parkway. I am co-chair of the Milton United Budget Override Campaign with Ralph, who just spoke. We are here to support our neighbors, our police department, our fire department, our DPW, library, our schools, and our town administrators. This override is for all of us. With that, Mr. Wells, I appreciate meeting with you less than 2 weeks ago, and I've appreciated the communication between then and now with various departments in our campaign. We are organized, we have a solid strategy and a strong infrastructure created with input from many people across Milton. We have over 1,000 known supporters and growing, and a large number of experienced neighbors on our team, including senior citizens and those who have managed previous overrides, and we are ready to continue the work in preparation for April 29th election. Our website is in its final phase before rollout. Donations are coming in. Our campaign team is growing exponentially. Our social media is up and running, and we are finally in the final stages of planning multiple info sessions around town. Campaign signs, flyers, Q&A are all in final stages, and we're almost ready to print and distribute. But we need a commitment from you and your leadership to hold steady on the April 9th election date, and for the override, the April 29th election date, and for the override amount to be finalized as soon as possible. Community members are ready to both support the override and roll up their sleeves and get the word out. And we want to make sure that all residents are engaged and unified regardless of affiliations. These groups are full of strong network community members who have built trust within their neighborhoods over the years, and this is really an opportunity for us to unify as a town and become Milton United. Now, you have an opportunity to create a town civic process that is transparent and engaging, and we would like to ask your support in keeping the April 29th date. The sooner we talk about the work and solidify over the override amount, the better we can do a job of sharing the information with our voters and get the resources that we need. We didn't join this campaign for an easy journey. We joined it knowing that our town deserves to be united, deserves to be informed with facts and make the best decisions for our families. Our police department, fire department, library, DPW, school, and town employees deserve to be funded at level service at minimum. Our residents deserve to know exactly what an override is, what it entails, how it impacts our community, as well as how it impacts the services of a town, specifically our neighbors who are on fixed income, our neighbors who are financially struggling, the safety of our town in respects to our police and fire department, the impact that it will have on our neighbors who attend school, our community members who work in the schools, and the safety of our streets and sidewalks. They also deserve to know that we will have support with the traffic and congestion in East Milton. It is very important that we get as much of our community to vote and move the override to June. I'm going to skip that part because you assured us that we would not have that. We have lost multiple value school employees, and we can't afford to lose any. Our school staff is paid significantly less in comparison to our neighbors at BPS and compared to what the state has came up with comparable towns.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll let you go. You're over. You're way over.
Can I finish the last statement?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I hope that you all select board finalize the override number tonight and do not add any additional obstacles to our committee so we can inform them of the facts around the override. And I hope that you keep in touch. You can always communicate with us at info@miltonunited.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Ada. Good evening.
Good evening. Ada Rosemarin, 32 Columbine Road. Thank you for your time and consideration of an important operational override for our town. It's long overdue. The limits set by Proposition 2.5 have not kept up with inflation since the last override in 2017. During the pandemic, we were fortunate to receive federal COVID funds and substantial free cash to help bridge the gap until the next override. It's gotten us this far, but the COVID funds are gone. Free cash isn't meant for operating expenses, and we've reached the financial cliff, and the time has come for town residents to dig deep to maintain the services our residents and school children need. I have 3 things I respectfully request for your consideration. One of them you've already responded to, which is great. Go forward with the override election on April 29th. Having the override election on the same date as the town election will bring a bigger voter turnout for this important issue, and the more votes, the better. Over 60 school staff and other town workers whose jobs are on the line deserve to find out as soon as possible whether they still have jobs. Number 2, identify a figure for the override that will be sufficient to fund level services, but also enough to make the override last for several years, to prevent the need to go through this again too soon. And 3, make a commitment to form a functioning finance committee to work jointly with the school's finance committee. As a former school committee chair, we benefited greatly from having a solid collaborative working relationship with the Select Board Finance Committee as we work through budget season. The need for this operational override is clear. Most families who moved to Milton, like mine, moved here for our excellent schools. Likewise, there are many of us who have an eye on our property values. We'd like to keep Milton as an attractive place for young families to move. Our schools are a huge draw, and it's the right thing to do. The potential school cuts without an override are draconian and do not bode well for our town's reputation. Losing so many positions could take years to recover. It's time we all need to come together to support our town in this critical moment. Let's get the facts out to our residents about what's at stake. I have confidence that Milton voters will agree it's time to come together to invest in our town, our schools, and our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zulus, Michael Zulus.
Mike Sulis, 69 Fairbanks Road. As select board members, one of the most important things is to exercise your authority with kindness and decorum. One of the ways we showed kindness and decorum in the past was to have a discussion with departing select board members about continuing to serve. That all changed last May when I left the board. There was no discussion. When I filled out my volunteer applications, there was no response, no consideration, not even a public vetting of my application for the Broadband Committee, which has had 4 openings since last June. Now, you have the authority to appoint whomever you want to committees, but the residents of this community would be much better served if you exercise that authority with less political vindictiveness and more kindness and decorum. You can also show kindness and decorum by not banging the table with your fist when someone disagrees with you or declaring that someone is, quote, getting screwed when a vote goes against you. This is important because in any organization and in any town, the tone is set from the top. What's the tone that you are setting? Here's one of many social media posts from Milton Police Officer Joe Fahey, who works for you, is empowered by this town to carry a gun, and is a supporter of Mr. Wells. Quote, Mike Zulis, I hope you run for SB. I will make it my mission. I will win to make sure every town union goes against you. They all hate you. Self-indulgence and zero common sense. Teachers must think you are a hero. You are a self-important bad word. Now, you may say that's just one rogue employee, and you don't agree with that. Well, last April, Mr. Cohane's campaign, which is supported by Mr. Wells and Ms. Musto, published personal attacks and untruths about me all over town that were unheard of and were at the level that my wife felt she had to hide publications from our daughters. Here are a couple of examples. Mr. Zulis has not faithfully represented Milton. He advocated for a, quote, cleansing of those with opposing views. Now, you may say, like Mr. Cohane, that's just politics. Maybe he's right. Maybe that's the new Milton politics. If that's the case, my time has passed. My time was when Bob Hiss and I would debate issues, have a few laughs, and then the winner would buy the loser lunch. My time was when Leroy Walker and I would have real disagreements while at the same time becoming real friends. My time was when Mary Kelly and I would disagree, but she would still laugh at my jokes even if they weren't funny. Here's the point. We have an override coming up that's very important for the future of this town. It's important for children and parents and empty nesters and seniors. It's important for teachers and police officers and firefighters and DPW workers and all our town employees. If we could just put aside the vindictiveness and the personal attacks and the lack of decorum for a couple of months, if all the campaigns could join together to support the override, just like in 2013
30 seconds,
when
Mr.
we
Zulus.
all joined together to suspend our campaigns after the marathon bombing, and if all the campaigns could make donations to the override effort, then we will overwhelmingly pass a full-service override on April 29th. Let's do that.
Chair Carroll.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Lizzie Carroll, 37 Randolph Ave, Chair of the School Committee in Town Meeting, Precinct 3. Thank you very much. I just wanted to come here to say a couple of things. First, just for the record, on behalf of the school committee, last Wednesday, we voted our FY26 budget request, and my request on behalf of the school committee to all of you is, as you consider the override amount, to please consider the school committee's request for $6.4 million to support level service for the schools. That amount will also allow us to address our top priority mandated needs that we have identified, while also ensuring sustainability over the next several years. So that is the amount that the schools are requesting for the overall town's override. The other thing I want to say is just thank you for your work through this process. I know you're facing a big decision, and you've put in a lot of time already to considering what the various factors are before you. Member Cohen, I want to especially thank you for the time you've invested in attending the school's finance meetings. All of this has been under discussion for quite some time now. I know something about heading into a meeting with a big decision, and it's not easy. So I respect you all and appreciate that you're seriously considering a lot of different factors. I hope that you will be able to arrive at a decision tonight for reasons that have already been explained, so that would allow us to move forward together and do the work that we need to get the override passed. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That will conclude citizen speak or public comment. And we're going to move to item number 4. Mr. Milano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of slides I'll click through now just to help reframe where things stand. And
So can I preface you based on your discussion with me today? So we may pick a number tonight. We may set a number tonight, but we may not make the final vote on that tonight because I believe the school committee is meeting again tomorrow. So we may have to meet on Friday morning quickly or sometime Friday on Zoom to vote the final number. Is that okay with everyone? Okay. Okay. You said no? No, the school committee said no. I'm not asking the school committee, I'm asking us. I'm asking our members. Is it, for our board, is that okay?
she's pointing out that, I'm sorry, the school committee is, the finance subcommittee is meeting, not the full school committee.
Or whatever, okay, whoever's meeting tomorrow, but based on whatever happens tomorrow, we will not be voting tonight before, I don't think we're gonna vote the final number until, and I'll go through the whole thing once he's done, but I just wanna make sure for our board that Friday morning, a quick Zoom would be available to take a final vote. All right with that, everyone?
If it's
Okay.
before 10:30 a.m. it'll
That's
work
fine,
for me.
whatever works. I'll make it, we'll do whatever works, okay. Mr. Milano, thank you all.
Do you have something?
Sure. I'm not available that afternoon. That's fine, we'll do it in the morning. It'll be quick, 10 minutes. They won't have any public comment, I promise. Mr. Milano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we've shared the overall big picture in the past, so just to kind of reframe so everybody is aware of where things stand. We've put all our revenue and all our expenditures together in a big pot, and it comes out $9.5 million in the red, which is why we talked about the $9.5 million amount needed for the override. On the revenue side, property tax levy is affected by Prop 2.5, so that goes up by 2.5% every year, plus any new growth. So we've accounted for the 2.5 increase and new growth. Local receipts is various other fees that we receive, primarily motor vehicle excise, building fees, trash fees, the like. State aid has gone up by 2.25% due to the governor's budget, which came out in January. The next marker in the state budget process is the House budget. Chapter 70 aid went up slightly. Unrestricted general government aid went up 2.2%. that is offset by some shared costs that we do pay. And then the other big item here is the free cash. So in fiscal 26's budget, right now, we're accounting. What's going on with this? Sorry
I
about that.
think that was you.
So in the 26 budget right now, what is accounted for in free cash is the capital budget, the Capital Improvement Planning Committee's recommendation of $878,500 in free cash, $878,500 in free cash for free cash capital purchases. It's a $500,000 contribution into the General Stabilization Fund, and it is $155,000 in funding that can only be used for opioid settlement purposes and prevention.
Before we move to expenditures, can I ask a quick question
Sure,
about revenue?
yeah.
When you say new growth in property tax levy, can you just explain for everybody what that means by new growth?
Sure, it's really kind of three big buckets. New growth in terms of utilities, their transmission lines and pipelines in town we are able to capture as new growth. New growth in terms of additions and renovations to people that do work on their homes. And then thirdly, it's new construction. In the past few years, it's been projects like Walcott Woods and 131 Elliott Street that have driven new growth. In the next couple of years, we expect strong new growth due to the 40B projects that are coming online currently. On the expense side, we have the town departmental budgets, police, fire, DPW, and the like, which are growing up aggregate at 4.7%. The school department budget is the 9.44, 6.3%, $6.34 million that Dr. Carroll mentioned. Blue Hills Regional is an assessment for the vocational school. I mentioned the capital appropriation. And lastly is the big bucket of shared costs, which is largely health insurance, but it's health insurance, pension, our regular insurance for automobiles, property liability, and the like. So in terms of health insurance, which is a big driver of the increase year over year, I just want to keep that in front of mind, is that one of our main reasons we're in this picture is because of health insurance. So from 25 to 26, we're looking at a $3.2 million increase in the health insurance budget for several different factors. In fiscal 25, that budget used some of our last federal funds to offset the health insurance budget. So as a starting point in 26, we have to put that money back in from the tax levy. We had also incorporated the use of a premium holiday for one pay period for employer and employee payments for health insurance. So again, that's kind of like using one-time funds. So that money had to be put back in the tax levy. In addition, we're seeing higher enrollment on the town's health plan. So from fiscal 25 to fiscal 26, there's been a considerable change in enrollment, which means we now have more people that the town has to cover for its share of the premium payments monthly. And then the biggest factor is that health insurance costs are exploding. I think everybody's seeing this everywhere. Right now, our premium increase recommendation is a 14% increase year over year for the town's plans. While we haven't made a final decision on that, that's the strong recommendation of our consultant based on the trends year to date and the concern about that the trend will continue at a high clip in the near future. And then lastly, we do provide supplemental Medicare plans, and we have a premium increase for those. So health insurance is a big reason why we're here and talking about such a large override. So I just wanted to explain that one in a little bit more detail.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Sure.
So if you're saying the change is 3.2, where would I find that in the numbers, in the calculations? Because if the schools are at 6.4 and that number is 3.2 and the town needs...
Yep. It's
So-
in the shared, right here, it's in shared. So it's a shared cost between the town
Oh,
and
there it
schools.
is. There it is. Okay.
So of the
So really
3.9
what we
million,
need
it's
is
really-
11,000. Is that what?
11 million.
our expenses have grown by 11.9 million, right?
Yeah, we
be
solved
great.
it.
By 11 million.
You passed the test, you can go home now.
This is, I swear, this is
Math
why I'm
in
in law
public.
school. So
Yeah, math in public. That was great.
that was good. At least everybody can laugh about that. So can I,
We need some humor.
so can you, never mind, I figured it out. I just answered my question. We're good.
Okay.
Thanks.
You sure?
Yeah, and I even talked to Nick about this on Sunday, so yeah.
Our expenses have grown by 12 million, but our revenues have grown by 2.5 million. So
Gotcha.
that leaves us looking for 9.5 million. The other thing I wanted to speak to a bit is there's been, we've had some discussion here, it's been elsewhere in terms of how can this be sustainable for more than a couple of years. And some strategies that can be put into place are dedicating part of an override to an override stabilization fund. So the money would flow into the override stabilization fund. It would be held there for appropriation by town meeting with a 2/3 majority. So that would be one way to, and since it's part of the override, it's permanent. And if whatever number you select, that can grow just as an override would at 2.5% a year. But those funds remain dedicated to that purpose of going into the operating budget override stabilization fund. The other way is to keep an override at a certain amount, but reduce budget requests. So you can develop an operating budget override stabilization fund by increasing the override beyond level service, or by dialing back what the level service requests are and setting money aside into it. We can establish an appropriate free cash into a stabilization fund to be used, and that's one of the tools we've been talking about in more detail. And then another, in terms of sustainability, and that this has been brought up, is a SPED stabilization fund for special education costs. That this is a little bit of a different kind of stabilization fund that is under the control of the select board and school committee once it's been established by the town meeting and money has been appropriated into it. So there are different tools that are out there that can be used. And these are some options, and I can explain them in a bit more detail.
Just a quick question, Mr. Milano. When we talk about reducing level service budget requests, that basically means that we're not being level service at that point, right?
Yes.
That means that we're cutting into actual services. that we have.
Operations, yeah,
Yeah.
operations.
Okay, so it might be a better way to frame that, because if we go below level service, then it's no longer level service. Thanks, Mr. Wells.
You're welcome.
So we've put together each of those kind of scenarios just to show what they look like. And I just want to be very clear and transparent about what our assumptions are, because it's all built upon assumptions, and if we're wrong, and everything we've done is off. So the assumptions on the revenue side are Prop 2.5 is in place. Property tax levy will grow by those limits. State aid is going up 2% a year. New growth will be $1 million a year. The last 3 years, we've been closer to 1.2, 1.3. Historically, we estimate closer to 850. So with the 40B activity, as long as the economy stays strong, which could be a question mark, that new growth should be solid for the $1 million. Local receipts, again, a 1% increase. So it's not expecting all of our revenues to stay at zero, but not being too optimistic in terms of where they might go. On the expense side, we have salaries at approximately like a 4% increase, but that's not COLAs only. It's or cost of living adjustments. It's primarily what drives the cost on that front is steps that employees earn year over year, and the school department steps and lanes in terms of education experience and years. General expenses at a 3% year over year. Health insurance is a big part of this budget, and we are anticipating a 7% increase a year after the 14% increase in fiscal 26. So that's what this forecast is based on. Pension will remain with the funding schedule set by the Milton Retirement Board. That's in place currently. OPEB will go up 2.5% per the select board policy to do so. And then debt services, everything that's been approved but not issued. It's all the projects that have been approved by the capital committee but haven't been approved yet by town meeting for this year's cycle. And then there's a set aside for additional projects in the future. So with any kind of forecasts, we feel pretty good about these kind of assumptions, but if budgets grow at 6%, it's it's off balance much earlier than it would be otherwise. If revenues go faster, it's a bit rosier. So I just wanted to put those out there in terms of how we've approached this and try to be conservative, but without being too conservative for that sake.
Can I ask a couple questions? So first, you just said that nothing can go over 3%. So that means the schools can only increase 3%, fire, everything is a 3% across the board. So any extras not going to happen because we're looking at a 3% increase and that's it?
Right.
Okay. The next thing is something I talked to you about on Sunday, which is the GIC. I know Mr. Dennehy did it a while ago, and it was not advantageous for our town and for our staff. I'm wondering if we could take a look at that again and see, because you told me that they did not increase that much. They increased, but by a couple of percentage points less.
Right.
It might be advantageous for us to look at that again and just see if we could save a few dollars there. I don't know how difficult that is for you guys to do, probably very.
So in terms of that, GIC is the state
General
employee.
general
Yeah.
insurance.
So and cities and towns can opt to join it.
Right.
Also, under the law, cities and towns can implement GIC level plans without necessarily joining the GIC. However, the impacts of that have to be negotiated. So it's a longer process to work through negotiations with
With
the
the
employees
unions.
over the impact to doing so.
But could you get just a general sense of whether or not it would be worth our while?
Like
to
cost
negotiate?
versus cost?
Yeah.
Cost versus cost.
I
Yes.
just, if we're kicking all the tires to look for money, that was something that I know that Mr. Dennehy did previously.
No, we would, the first step would be to develop GIC, quote-unquote, look-alike plans,
Awesome.
compare them to ours, and evaluate what the premium savings would be,
Okay, great.
and then negotiate from there if there's an interest in doing so.
Absolutely.
And
Thanks,
that's,
Nick.
health insurance has not increased at 7% a year in Milton's history. It's been lower than that, so it's conservative. And then there are other things that the town could do to further defray some of those costs in terms of the premium increases.
Do you think this was a one-time hiccup?
There are many factors driving those health insurance costs, from pharmaceuticals elsewhere.
Right.
We're hopeful, but the recommendation is to be prepared for a couple of years of high costs. Where we have outlier claims, we're self-insured, but we have stop loss. So, a high claim due to a poor diagnosis, we have to cover the first $175,000 worth of those costs. But if it's a $500,000 claim, it's not like we're paying out the full $500,000. We're covered up to a point.
Thank you.
Sure. So in order to just kind of spell out what I described a couple slides ago in terms of options on sustainability, here are those three as examples. So scenario A is funding at the override at $9.5 million, not setting up any kind of a special stabilization fund at all, just putting free cash aside and using that free cash to help offset costs over the next couple of years. And under projected deficits, you can see in fiscal 29, we're starting to have significant budget problems, and especially because that's driven by the use of what is really one-time funds for recurring expenses in the future years. Scenario B is where, I'm just going to skip that one, I'll return to that in a second. So the third column is saying, okay, now can we increase that override? How much do we need to increase it to get a few years of stability here under those assumptions? So push the override up to $9.9 million, dedicate that additional increment, $425,000, to an operating budget stabilization fund, and put $3 million into that operating budget stabilization fund. Now you can get from 26 to 29, assuming everything stays where they're assumed to be, and then we're having an override conversation starting in 2030. The middle column is where there's a little bit change involved, and we've heard from the school department, and where part of their budget is setting aside funding for helping them build back up their circuit breaker reserve. So one option would be to say, okay, that shouldn't be built back in part of an operating override that is permanent. That increment can go into an operating budget stabilization fund, $700,000. We add free cash, $2 million to that, so we have $2.7 million in that operating budget stabilization fund. So that's a reduction on the school side. And then we set up a new sped stabilization fund at $1 million to offset that impact in fiscal 26 and beyond, depending on how far that $1 million goes. So I created this because I think there was concern what I've heard from feedback is concern about 9.5 being too high, and concern about going even higher. So going to 9.9, while provides stability, it pushes that override higher. The 9.5 option, with some changes in terms of how appropriations are set up, provides similar stability while staying at the $9.5 million. And then the first option just uses all of the free cash to try to get us as far as we can, and that is not long lasting. So that's an overview of those, and I can describe them or answer questions about those. But just in response to kind of how people have been thinking about stability, I wanted to provide some of the pathways that those could look like. And that's really what I have to present. I provided how ballot questions are supposed to appear on the ballot. I provided an option that shows just a straight override and then another with dedicating a portion of funding to an operating budget stabilization fund. So those are drafted.
That's scenario B?
B.
Right,
B or C.
B or C. You put your hand up first, go ahead. I have a question as well, but go ahead. and then
So
I'll-
if I'm, how come in scenario B, when we get to FY30, we're let's call it $4 million short, but in C, where it's a higher number, why are we 1.8? Shouldn't that be lower than the 950? 9.5, I mean?
Because it's a larger override?
Yeah,
There's
it's a
less-
larger override.
There's less going into the stabilization.
So it's
Less,
the
yeah.
stabilization
Sorry.
The
fund?
stabilization fund, yeah.
Because each year, the 700 grand will grow by 2.5%. So it's higher to start with, and it'll be just higher at the end. So there's more recurring money available in the middle option.
So if we did that scenario C though, and you did it with the stabilization fund, that 1.8 would be lower,
Nope,
no?
that's how it all plays out. So we've plugged it in terms of each year using it, and that's where it leaves us. The first year where our deficit is in fiscal 2030. The primary factor is the more recurring money you can put away, the longer you're able to
Right.
get away with it.
So I had this in my head, I've had this in my head coming in tonight, so go ahead, Mr. Zoll.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Just, Nick, Mr. Milano, if you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about the bottom, because the bottom of this chart, which is the annual increase related, because if I'm reading this correctly, the difference on a monthly basis between 9.5 and 9.925 is $4 a month for the average homeowner. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the increments tied to the override. So if the override were 9.5 million, I believe the information I shared had it. So it's $1.063 million.
So if
And then
everyone
to tweak
chips
that
in-
up towards to 9.9 million.
So if you chip in an extra $4 a month, we can get an extra, if we're following scenario C, then we can get to FY30 before we're hitting deficit again. Okay.
But you lose the stabilization fund.
Not on C.
There
On
is one
C.
in C, but it's smaller.
It's way small.
It's 425.
See?
Now
Yeah,
I
that's
got
where
it.
the money, that's where it's
That's why I'm,
So either way, either B or C, we're looking at a deficit by FY30.
Correct.
And if we go by C, it's going to be a bigger deficit
Correct, because
Yes.
less is being
because there's
set
less
aside
in
now.
the
Being set aside,
stabilization.
That's
Got it,
why
got it.
I've been privately lobbying hard for B. But I don't want to vote. I'm sorry.
I'm all
Anyone else?
set. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Cohen?
I'm good.
Ms. Musto?
Sure. You had an earlier slide at one of the presentations where you talked about the impact to the homeowners for like 5 years in a row. So with like the 9.5, I don't know if you can bring that one up again, just to go through what that means for people in terms of each year, the breakdown.
So though where a house is assessed at like $1 million?
But he brought it up, yeah, you had a slide that had like whatever the amount was, and then you had said, 400 would be the normal 2.5% increase that year, and 850 would be
So right now,
strictly with the override. So I'd like to see if you have that one that you could show people with like the 5-year projection based on 9.5. I think you had it.
I don't have it in the slide. It's in the packet that was published online. So essentially, without an override as a basis, taxes are going up about 3.3 to 3.4%, just because with the Prop 2.5 plus new growth, the average single family can expect the tax bill to go up, which is about $389. Add the override increment on top of it for the $9.5 million option, it's $1,063 in addition. That brings the total tax bill to $1,450. Now, what we typically see year over year is about a 3.3% increase. So this is a permanent change. It's not like a debt exclusion where it's set aside for a certain amount of years for a defined capital project. It's a permanent increase in the levy. So in fiscal 26, the increase would be $1,063 for $9.5 million, and then grow that by 3.3% a year. It will get you to kind of that annual impact, and I can do that quickly.
Is it 3.3% for the average homeowner? Or?
For the average house. So the average house, which is 3 to 4 bedroom, $1 million house, single family on a decent lot. So 3% on that is another $30 on top of it.
Is it this one that says 1482 and then it goes to 1530?
That's your full tax bill with the override included.
Do you want me to tell you these numbers?
I was just thinking it would be good to have that so people understand.
So what we will
it.
also,
Whatever we
You
vote
know what
is
I mean?
going up
I
there.
just would like
so
to
what we
have
have
that,
done,
yeah.
and Alan Bishop and Nick Connors and the assessor's office have worked on a calculator that is on the back end ready to go. Once we have no certainty around the figures, we can finalize those, and that will be available on the town website as a tool where you go in, and it's working now in terms of functionally, but the numbers are wrong. But you go in and you type your address, it tells you what your current year tax bill is, and it tells you what the tax bill will be next year.
And the
due to
year after.
override.
Okay, I just think that's important for transparency, that
Sure.
we let people know that. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Cohen.
I never know when the right time is, but this is the conversation about the schools and the school budget. And I think what I see right now, the most important thing, and it was mentioned by other speakers, is bringing the town together. And I just want to say that I'm here to support the schools in actions and not just words. And I think we all need to do the same. The schools need our support right now desperately. And we're having a difficult time attracting and keeping people. And we need to run our town, as became evident last week. I also feel that the town departments as well need our support. But I've had a limited amount of time and I've to research this, so I've started with the biggest item, and that is the schools. We have a new fiscally responsible key member of the school staff, Katie Blake, our assistant superintendent. Days after the budget was closed, it was discovered we had a multi-million-dollar shortfall. Katie was only here a couple of months at that time, but this year, halfway through the year, she did discover that we had a 2.3 budget shortfall. And although the news is not great, the past is the past, but the progress she's made is notable, and she's built a fix for this into the FY26 budget, I think. I'm not 100% correct there, but most of it. And I'd also like to say that I think level service is a bit of a misnomer, because here we're trying to make up for past past issues, past budget issues. So anyway, I feel I'd like to start off the conversation right now tonight with the fact that with part of the pitch that the members mentioned, that we need to support an override. Investing in Milton starts with your time. Please ask questions, and most importantly, vote in April. Thank you.
Thank you. So, we good?
I'm all set.
Can I talk?
Yeah, are you going to talk about the needs, how we're not touching that in any of this?
Not really, but I'm going to talk about where we're at and just, you want to?
I think we should at least acknowledge that.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, Nick, according to my paperwork, this budget would not include any of the needs for the town. So.
Town departments.
Town
right.
and the schools. So the schools would still be $1 million short for their needs. We would be roughly $2 million short for our needs. I don't know what the combined bucket would look like, but there's no extra stuff. So we don't get new software, we don't get accounting stuff that Carla desperately needs. All of those things are not happening.
Correct. What is funded right now is level service. The same number of employees that you see today will be there in July. We have, through the increase is 4.7% because we've been able to identify places where budgets are underfunded
Right.
and allowed for some increases to maintain what they're doing today. And the best example is vehicle maintenance and repair.
Right.
That budget has exploded in recent years.
I
If
know.
anybody's brought your car into a shop, it's not
there
the
now.
same anymore. So that budget has been
Cars at
adjusted.
Central Maintenance? No.
I wish.
So it's a place where we have seen costs spiral, and our budget has remained flat. So this year's budget includes a modest increase there to help them able to just maintain the same amount of vehicles that they're maintaining today.
Okay.
So that's the kind of changes we've made. It's not new services, it's not new initiatives, it's a little bit of increases in appropriate places to reflect increasing costs, but not funding anything in terms of needs that departments have brought, and
Right.
certainly not, things that departments would like but haven't even put on their needs list yet.
Right.
So
And that number, if we were to do it, is roughly 12.5.
yes, another 3 million,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, so really, if we were to do this, where we level funded and we funded the needs of the town, we would do a $12.5 million override. I know that sounds ridiculous, I just want to put it out there.
You would attempt a 12.5 million.
You attempt, right, you attempt a $12.5 million override, because that would actually allow us to bring up our services, get our staff what they needed to do their jobs easier, especially Carla, and who's using a pencil and piece of paper to do things. I just think that's something that I just wanted folks to know and recognize as we continue this discussion. So it's not that 9.5 is our starting point, and it's going to make everything rosy. Our real number is 12.5, because that would be a level service and needs. So there you have it. There's my little piece. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, Ms. Bradley. So, historically, in overrides over the past 30 years, 30 plus years, there's always been compromise and a strategy, and one of the things that has always been a weapon to use in successfully passing an override is time. So in the past few days, there's been some news, including stated by myself, that perhaps we should move it from April to June. And the reason that I stated that is that in a period of several days last week, I was inundated with requests, people, calls, people coming to me personally, meetings where the fear and apprehension and, to be honest, the loss of the former assistant superintendent for business and now the sudden and unannounced resignation of the school superintendent really did not steady the boat that were driving into a wind of trying to achieve an override. That has really concerned me. It concerned me the other day when I saw some of our most veteran leaders in this town, past leaders, who really stopped and thought and said, we need to get the time to get this done successfully. Because I've said many times in this meeting and in other meetings, and the people who've met with me and listened to me, and even former leaders who are in this room who've worked with me, and this is not about me, I'm just speaking as a voice tonight. The worst thing that can happen in an override is to lose. So I'm not going to throw any rocks. I'm not going to, because passing this override is more important than anything, and maintaining the quality of life for the community that so many people in this town expect and cherish, whether they're 6 or 86, is the most critical factor and has been the key element to the success of any override that's ever been attempted in this town. Don't think for a minute that no one's vote matters, because they all do. And don't think for a second, anyone who's listening home, that this will not be really hard for some people who will go out and vote yes. And it will really impact them negatively. People who don't have kids in the schools, people who aren't using town services all the time, people who've stood out in the past 20 and 30 years, who've stood out and been you advocating, walking in with their young children who are grown adults now. Because everything I've ever known since the first day I came to work for this town in 1984 has been about the protection of the town. It's something that was ingrained in me by my own parents. It's something I carry inside of me deeply. Those of you in this room who know me, who've met with me, know that that's just how I think every day. So I said we can't vote tonight because of the one nagging issue that we have looming before us is that we still have a significant deficit in this year's current operational budget with the schools. The superintendent advised Mr. Milano today that he believes that by the end of their finance committee tomorrow, they will have a solution to that. Because we can't vote an override and then have on April 30th say, oh, and by the way, we need another million or another 900 or 800 or whatever number to close the loophole in the existing Milton Public School deficit for this existing year. So if in fact they do that tomorrow, then I would propose that we schedule a meeting, just a Zoom meeting to finalize the vote. We've already got the date and the amount. For me personally, and it's took me an awful lot to get to this, I like option B because I know how hard Nick has worked on this. I like the fact that he's thinking beyond this current existing year, and I would propose to the members that under the work he's done that we pick scenario B, which is a $9.5 million override with the creation of the stabilization fund, is outlined to us tonight. And I make that as a motion if someone would. We don't have to vote it as, it'd be pending. I don't think we have to vote it tonight. That's just, I welcome comments and we can vote it on. That's what I would want to vote on Friday.
Did you make a motion?
I made that as a motion.
So I'm going to second it so that we can now have
Okay.
a discussion.
Okay.
You could do it two ways. We could vote tonight, and then if there's something that changes,
We could re-amend.
then we could amend it on Friday.
Yeah, or it doesn't change, right.
Or if it doesn't change, then we don't have to do anything. And the folks, can kind of get a sense of where we're at with the number.
Are you okay with that? If we did do that, or would you rather us, only because we
Yeah,
spoke
yeah.
about this, no, I want to make sure he is. He was uncomfortable today, so I just want to make sure, and I don't mean to put you on the
No, I
spot.
think the concern remains if there is a deficit that has
Right.
not been closed and
Right.
the only answer is free cash, we'll
Then
have
we're-
made decisions around
Right.
What we're
as
using.
forecast and sustainability using free cash that now has to go close a deficit for the school department.
The school department started at a 2.5 deficit this year?
They have a-
3.5? Where are they at now? Do you know?
They've outlined a plan to, he doesn't want to talk about it publicly, but they did
I don't, it's
outline
not my
a.
plan, and I
It's
don't
not his
want to
plan.
misspeak or mischaracterize, so I'm gonna just leave it at that. I believe the work is ongoing, but we still don't have an answer.
And
So
to your
do you
question,
wanna-
we asked, like I've beaten this poor man over the head for the past 8 days for an answer
Right.
for tonight. I have, and I knew today when we did not have it, I said, we can't vote it until we have that. We can't do this. I mean, we're the executive board of the town. We're responsible to everyone in this community.
What would happen if they are short and we need, so then we
Well,
would
they-
have to readjust the override number?
No, but they seem to think that they have
But
an answer to this.
I
No,
understand that.
no.
I just am trying to figure out why that impacts our override number, because the free cash will be gone, and we will need to either increase the number.
No,
Yes.
so if the request is, we've done X, Y, and Z, and we need X dollars from the town's free cash.
Yep.
It affects how much we can set aside for future years, which
Gotcha.
affects the sustainability question. It wouldn't affect
I
the
got
override
you.
directly.
Right.
The free cash is there to be appropriated, it just means it wouldn't be available to be used, to be putting away for fiscal 27, 28, 29.
And so we might actually, if we don't do it that way, we might actually bump into like an FY '29 deficit.
Right, that would be the risk.
There you go.
That would be the risk. Okay. I just wanted to make it crystal clear. Thank you.
That was my point too. It would affect all these, so the shortfall would come sooner.
Correct.
Yep.
And for the school committee, not that they can comment on this, but for those who are involved in this on the school side, I want you to realize how much time and effort we put in this to get to this, especially you and Amy. Because we are asking the residents of this town to support an override almost 4 times the size, the amount of any override ever voted since 1986. And that is a significant ask. And so the one thing that I say to everyone, including the people who spoke here tonight, and they can take shots at me, I don't care, they're like, it's not about me, I'm just a person. You need everyone in this to pass it, and you need to be grateful and humble when you ask people to support this, because for some it's easy, for others it'll be extremely hard. So I don't know, I'm more
Mr.
comfortable
Chair,
with what
maybe,
you want to do.
I think procedurally or timing-wise, if the school committee is not meeting tomorrow night, and that was, so
they
I
would
think
have to all
maybe
re-vote.
give,
But as long as I
providing,
know, at least to you, if we know where the path, if we know the hole is closed, they're there, for me, I'm comfortable then. I think you are as well. That's when he's probably presented it to me today.
right, we could reconvene Friday, we could give everybody
I
a
know.
couple more days and meet Tuesday night if folks are available Tuesday night, and take up some other items as well, and give the school committee a chance to meet if they're, since
Right.
they're not currently
Because it would have
posted
to be
to
the
meet.
finance committee and then the school committee, and then we would know what the answer is.
And we'd have a good answer after the finance committee, because
Right.
they'd be presenting to the school committee.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I'm
So
comfortable
it'd
with
be
that.
tomorrow morning.
Right, well, they won't present to the school committee until the school committee's.
Right.
But we'll
the
know,
number
it'll be
will-
public,
the
we'll
number
know
will-
what it
Yeah,
is.
it'll be public.
Yeah.
Mr. Loring's shaking his head, but you can't comment right now, so I'm sorry. But just,
Ask them to participate if you want, Mr. Chair.
you okay with that?
Yeah,
Is everyone okay with that? Are we okay with option B?
Yes, I'm fine with option B. I'm saddened that there will be no needs that are, again, dealt with. It makes me sad. I understand it
And
and
I-
I get it, and I'm gonna vote yes for B, but it's a hard thing knowing that there is such a need out there for our staff to remain here and remain in the 20th century, not even the 21st. So I'm going to say yes. You know, I really hope that the schools can patch that, whatever's left of the deficit, so that we are at least in 2030 with just that amount. I really am hopeful that they can do that, because it's been 2 years now of needing to plug their deficit, and they've received a massive increase percentage-wise, both years.
Well, that, to your credit, Ms. Bradley, is your compromise.
There
Our
you go.
compromise. So, we all good? So I'm gonna take the vote pending any change by you tomorrow, then we would reconvene on Friday if we have to.
Okay.
But given that, motion made and seconded for option B on the 9.5, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 It's unanimous. Thank you.
And just to clarify,
Can we go
so
home?
the ballot question will say $8,800,000 for town and school operating budgets and $700,000 for an operating budget stabilization fund. So that will be a single ballot question. Added together, it's $9.5 million. But I'm sorry, I did bad math there. $8.8 million. No, I did. $8,800,000 to fund the operating budgets of the town and schools, and then and $700,000 to fund an operating budget stabilization fund is what the ballot question will look like. And I'll circulate that upon town council's review.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done on this, and thank you to Amy. I know Ms. Dexter likes to sit in the back and not have to speak unless spoken to. And I see it. Ms. McCarthy is here again tonight, another night away, so thank you for coming, Madam Treasurer. And
But still.
this is not over. This is just a vote. This is just the beginning of what is going to be a compressed timeline that is going to take an immense amount of work to successfully pass. So thank you, and thank you to the members for this tonight, and especially Mr. Gohane, who's put in yeoman's work the past 4 weeks.
Tomorrow, too.
Okay.
That was 4 and 5, it seems.
That was 4 and 5, yeah.
Do we need
God.
to make a motion for recess for select board?
Mr. Chair, we had communicated with the expected attendees to plan around 8:30, so I think we
Okay, you wanna
should
keep going
continue
then?
with the other budget
All right,
items.
so we'll
and then-
skip Governor Stoughton, we'll come back to that, and we're going to go to item number 6, discussion, update approval, annual town meeting, Monday, May 5th, 2025. We need a motion to open the warrant?
Yes,
I'll
please.
make a motion, go ahead. Made by Mr. Zoll. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Musto, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item B, articles for inclusion on the annual town meeting warrant. See the list enclosed.
All right, hold on. I gotta get to my list.
Holy crap.
So, Mr. Chair, the articles that we're recommending for inclusion right now are listed on the agenda as items, Articles 1 to 36. These are the typical annual recurring budgetary articles, authorizing the operating budgets, the capital budget, the community preservation, PEG enterprise fund appropriation. We do an annual authorization article so the select board can accept, abandon, or relocate easements. So these are the standard articles, 1 to 36, that we're recommending be included now, and then we can talk further about the other ones.
You want a motion?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion
yeah,
to.
I'll make a motion, you want to do it, Ben?
Well, no, you go ahead.
I'll make a
Made,
motion.
seconded, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve Article 1 through 36 as printed for the annual town meeting happening on May 5th.
And I'll second it.
Made,
again.
second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So in terms of the other articles listed under potential additional articles for inclusion, I do just want to note to members that the planning board has requested, as on our next agenda item, that there is another special town meeting between now and July 14th, so that they can bring
It's gonna be
forward
way before that.
a warrant article related to MBTA communities. And I think we got to have this conversation in tandem with the special town meeting, because the warrant committee is up against it in the next 3 weeks to get the warrant done and printed and good to go for the annual town meeting. If indeed this board is open to having another special town meeting to take up MBTA community zoning at the end of June, I would suggest that as many articles that can go to the special rather than the annual, so that the warrant committee has more time to work on those. I think that would be well received and appreciated by the warrant committee, as they're really focused on the budget right now. So of the potential articles that are budget related, the first one, the second one listed, the first one is the operating budget stabilization fund that we would fund through the override.
Yep.
So that should go on the annual.
Yep.
The second one is the special education stabilization fund, which would be funded under scenario B with $1 million. That should go on the warrant as well. So those two
Yep.
should, their budget, they're related to fiscal 26. The other two I want to flag, just because the planning board has already acted on them, is the one related to site plan and the one related to accessory
Hold on.
dwelling units.
Nick, wait a second.
Yep.
You have it down here twice, this establish and appropriate funds to a new operating budget and stabilization fund. Do you see that? 1, 2, 3. I'm looking at Article 3.
Is,
It's been
It's
been changed. This is an amended,
oh, sorry.
yeah. It says revised.
Lord
Where's the
help
revised
me.
one? Yeah.
Here we go, okay.
Yeah.
Moving right along.
Sorry, yeah, so there are two articles,
That's why
one
we
for the
call it
operating,
revised.
one for the operating budget stabilization fund, one for the special education stabilization fund. And then the other two that the warrant committee the planning board has already worked on and submitted for inclusion on the annual are the site plan approval bylaw and the accessory dwelling units bylaw. I think where the warrant committee already read those, saw those, met on them, provided comments on them, I think that those two conceivably could go on the annual as well. They've already done their heavy lifting on it, and it would then lessen the load in June. So those are the four that I, in looking at the list, identify as, good candidates for the annual,
Yeah, the state just came out with the ADU regs,
the bylaw.
yeah.
Okay. So anyway, of those listed, I think those four are good candidates for the annual. And then I think push the rest to the June if we're going to have one.
So
I know
move
that's a-
those up, those four.
Okay.
So I think I want to,
Sure.
I would like to remove the dark sky protection one and really focus on the light trespass,
Okay.
because that seems to have the most traction.
Okay.
I would like, though, to have how do you want us to have a
A
hearing?
public hearing?
I would like to do that before my time on the select board is over,
Okay.
which is April 29th. It's in 49 days.
Nobody, not-
Who's
But who's
counting?
counting?
All right, so if not, how about 2 weeks? 2 weeks enough time?
Yeah,
Schedule that for 2 weeks? Okay. Yeah?
just so that people can,
Yep.
You got
if
it.
they can come, they can talk about it, and then
Okay.
we can incorporate it, and we can move it along.
Can I make an additional request?
What?
If we're going to have people coming in and commenting on things? I think that alcoholic beverages,
I was going to do that separate. I think they want to do it at
If
the
they wanna
MAC.
do that in
They wanna
June.
I think they want to do it at the MAC.
well, they want to do it at the
Yeah,
MAC. But
so
as,
I'm-
as a select board meeting?
Yeah,
or-
the select board meeting will have
Okay.
it at the MAC. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, So 2 weeks.
Are you
So at
okay
our-
with that?
Totally
Okay,
fine with
okay.
it, yeah.
So at our next select
I
board
just want to make sure it happens.
meeting, we're just going to set aside a little bit of time to do the
Yep.
the trespass?
Yep.
Love it. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Can I ask,
You got
in
that, Lynn?
terms
Sure.
of targeting the annual town meeting or targeting the June special?
I mean, I don't think it matters, to be honest with you, either. I mean, once we get the feedback from the general public, since they've already seen it and already discussed it, the warrant committee's already seen it and discussed it, they could probably, it'd be an easier lift in May. But if they're slammed, I don't want to slam them even more.
It's just we're up on the clock, so it's going to print the first week in April. So if
Yeah, we'd be done
have
by
a
then.
hearing in March 25th,
Yep.
the select board would either need to finalize the warrant
I
article
don't
then
think,
and
I
there.
don't think we need to do much in the hearing. I think the hearing,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Okay.
So we'll identify that for the annual as well.
Yep,
So 5 of them.
yep. And I'm going to get you the changes, Nick, so that everybody can have what those changes were.
Okay,
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
you're very welcome.
Is that it for the
My
warrant, then?
last
that
little
it?
thing.
So those should all be, those five
Oh,
should
no.
be added to the annual
We're gonna give you
town meeting
permission,
warrant.
special dispensation to speak to this at town meeting. I won't be chair, so I don't know if I'll be able to do that, but if I am still chair at town meeting, you got it.
You'll be a town meeting member still?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
I mean, as long
That's
as
what
I
I
get
mean.
reelected, blah. Can't I-
We motion to close? What else you got?
Can-
Go
Once
ahead.
the
we-
board adds
Go ahead.
those five,
We need to add those 5 to this one, and then do we need to do
that's the next
a
item.
motion to move the other ones to June?
Correct, and that,
Okay.
yes.
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the following articles for the annual town meeting. Establish and appropriate funds for a new operating budget stabilization fund, special education stabilization fund, zoning bylaw amendment, section 275-12.4, site plan approval, and zoning bylaws amendment accessory dwelling units, and finally, light trespass.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to move the following articles to the June special town meeting. Property tax exemptions related to the HERO Act.
Why don't we hold on that one? We're-
Holding on that one.
We'll be back in touch.
I take that back, I didn't say that.
Okay.
Authorize. Authorize, can I go to the next one?
Now that we have more time, we should, the select board should talk about the next two before we
Okay.
take any action on them.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going down.
And now that we have more time to do so, we can.
Okay, so, so the general bylaws amendment, chapter 105, alcoholic beverages. Zoning bylaws amendment, floodplain, and zoning bylaws amendment, East Milton overlay district. Those 3 articles to be moved to the June special town meeting.
We'll move the alcohol beverage one to June? You sure? I
We
believe the-
haven't, I think there's an interest in working on it, and with the time, like, we would need to be done in 3 weeks.
All right, go ahead.
I
All
just don't
right,
think
okay.
timeline-wise, we would be able to get there. This will give
I
us
was
the full
thinking
month of
if you don't
April.
pass it until June, 45 days to go to the AG, you won't be able to use it at all this summer until,
Then you'd have to publish it too.
right.
And but the 4
The
weeks
difference
between
between
May
May
and
and
June.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead.
We might be in trouble either way.
All right,
Yeah. Okay, so that was moved and seconded.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, okay.
I'll make a motion to close the warrant.
Good, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Musto, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item number, dear God, where am I, 9?
7, I think.
Seven?
See, I don't know where I am either.
I'm lost. I see 7, discussion approval, special town meeting prior to July 14th. You want to talk about, you want to pick a date, or what do you want?
Sure.
Wait, what are we picking a date for?
This,
This
now the
special-
special town meeting
Oh,
that we
okay.
just scheduled, or put warrants on the, articles
This
on the
is
warrant for.
June, and then we're holding these? Okay, I just wanted to get caught up, sorry.
No problem. So these dates, so Monday, June 9th, Monday, June 16th, Monday, June 23rd are all available, as are each of the nights following that for 2-night town meeting, if needed. School ends June 18th, I believe is the last day of school,
What's the last day, 18th?
the 18th.
That
Is it?
sounds early to me.
Is that right?
Oh, I got it on my calendar.
What'd you
hold
say
on.
is the 18th? That's the
Last
last
day
day
of
of school, that's
school.
what I, yeah, the 18th.
Okay.
Thought that's what I had.
April, May.
I guess we didn't have any snow days.
I see a frown, but are you,
Not yet.
no, yay, nay, no?
Yeah, the 18th.
Oh, okay. Oh, too far? You think it's too late? Just, I just saw the look on your face, and I'm like, something's wrong here.
June for any parent is terrible.
I agree.
I know.
I agree.
But July is not going to be.
July
any
won't, we
better.
can't do July.
July
July, you may not get a quorum.
But the later
so-
the better in June though, right?
I think the
'Cause school's
earlier the
out
better. Oh, no, I
by
think
that
the
point.
earlier the
I
better.
think
Middle
once
date.
school's
I'd say the
out,
middle date.
I think once school's out, parents are like, peace
Absolutely.
out, they're
Oh,
off
yeah.
to their
Yeah.
Cape houses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people
So-
that have.
So then
Let
there's
me-
an argument for earlier in June.
Could we go Monday, June 2nd? Or is that too soon?
What?
Monday,
I can't hear you.
Monday, can we do Monday, June 2nd?
I don't know that it's available. We can check in if you want to pencil that date in. We can check in and then be back in touch on the 25th to confirm.
Do you think that the planning board will be done with their thing by June 2nd? Like, that's the other consideration, guys.
Yeah.
I think it's possible.
On the,
That's 1 week later.
9th is the week of school graduation, though, isn't?
No, the
grad-
first is the graduation.
So the
No.
first, so it'll be the
I
day
have-
after
I
the
have a senior
first.
this year.
Oh.
So that date I know.
Oh, you want to do the 9th? We'll give them one extra week, no later than the 9th. We got, Aaron's right, Ms. Bradley's right. If it goes, you go to this town meeting,
Yeah, nobody will show up.
I agree.
all
I
right, let's
think
go,
the 9th
let's want to check on the
sounds
9th.
better.
Let's check on the
Sure.
9th.
So the
with-
9th is available. Why don't we plan on that date? We'll confirm with the we'll check in with the planning board tomorrow.
Yep.
I think I asked the moderator and the town clerk only about the 16th and 23rd. So we'll check in with everybody
All right.
to confirm the 9th, and then we can set the date officially at the next
Would
select
we
board
want to
meeting.
do it remotely?
I
in
don't think,
case-
you know something? Good point. I was thinking, let's look at the possibility of remote because of, it's a good thing. With people going away, it might work. I mean, we don't want to exclude anyone.
Right.
I know you're looking at me thinking, or.
I haven't been here for a remote one, so.
Oh, they're fine.
Oh, they were
Oh
all
my
right. We
gosh, I
did.
won't be here.
Oh, no,
I
we
won't
did.
cook. I won't cook for you guys this time.
Yeah, we did. Oh, yeah, we came. Oh, yeah, we came to one room.
Electronic now. Yeah, how does that work?
But we did remote. I thought we did remote. No, because
We did
with,
remote when I
with
first-
remote, you vote on your computer because it's the
Yeah.
same as electronic. It's up yes,
Yep.
no. You vote on your computer.
Yep.
Well, let's just keep that in our,
Maybe, yeah,
keep
just
that
keep
as,
it as an
as an option. Option B, present is option A, and option B will be.
So I will check in with
That will
everybody
be
related to
huge.
June 9th.
I had a discussion the
and
other
then
day about hybrid.
hybrid.
I don't know if it was for
That's a
town
big
meetings.
undertaking.
Communities have done hybrid town meeting, and
They have, yeah.
what they do is they give everybody a tablet, and everybody votes via Zoom, whether you're in person or, I think Brookline was the
Oh.
one that did it that way.
So I'm not going to make a
Tablets,
mo,
300 tablets.
Yes.
we're not going to make it lot, we're just going to tentatively the 9th. We won't have to vote that tonight.
Should we
We'll
have
vote.
Yep.
a second choice, the 16th? I mean, I think
If the planning board's not going to be ready
I mean, I think we should have a second option, you know, like we said, we.
Is that the second,
That would-
is that
I mean-
in
That's
a
the
li-
second.
an order
That's-
of prior
that's the next
preference?
Monday. That's the next
The
Monday.
if you go to the 16th, it's going to have to be it's going to have to be remote.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think the
that's
9th,
right.
you're going to get the most people to still be here because.
School's still in session. You go
and-
the 16th.
Yep.
Yeah,
But the
people are
16th,
starting to
that last
peace
week,
out.
they're pulling their kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that you should do that.
Oh, not that you should.
I can't believe what you just said.
Well, I'm just stating some
Thank
facts.
God all the school people left.
I don't recommend
All
it,
right.
everybody.
So first choice, 9th, second choice, the 16th,
16th.
and we'll look at the options for
Remote.
remote.
For the 16th
Yeah.
specifically.
Okay.
You
All
know, if I may, just to opine for a second, it might be, it would probably be helpful, just based on what we had for our last town meeting, if there's a way for the planning board to share their presentation in advance for people, so that people can kind of look at it and, you know, that way we're not sort of dissecting it at the meeting. And
Right.
I know there are people that will not refuse to prepare for anything and just show up with an unread warrant, but
Right.
like,
But for
it
those
would
of-
be really nice if we could have some of that presentation done. Maybe it's just like on the town website or something like that, so
Right.
people could look at it, and then that might also shorten the debate.
Right.
Then-
And the green sheets, if they could, I was having a hard
Yeah.
time with all the green sheets, so hopefully they'll be succinct. I mean, I'm to blame as well, so. With my green sheets.
You had your green sheets.
I know, I said I was to blame too.
That's my only thought on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item number 8, discussion approval state orders mandate determination related to MBTA Communities Act. Request for mandate determination from the orders. This is you, Mr. Milano?
So, I got requests for a couple of members to have this on here. I just wanted to provide an update. I sent it out via email, is that a couple of cases related to this issue were filed by the town of Middleborough, town of Marshfield, and the town of Rentham. There was a hearing in Plymouth Court yesterday where some of the cases were all consolidated, and the court set an April 2nd hearing date on a preliminary injunction related to the status of the emergency regulations and the legality of them, and the question of unfunded mandate. So the briefs are due the end of March, and then the hearing will be April 2nd, and presumably there wouldn't be a decision that day in the court, but sometime thereafter. So this question of the unfunded mandate and the impact that that has should be answered in due course, at least at the Superior Court level, through actions of other communities. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I think there was interest in discussing at this level whether the town should seek its own determination from the auditors, where they have responded to a couple of other communities with that determination about the unfunded mandate.
So, for me, I don't think we need to do this. I think they're going to determine one way or the other. They're going to make a determination. Full disclosure, we did have what I would consider a second meeting with HLC today, not the commissioner, but HLC staff. And you were present, Mr. Milano. I would describe that meeting as productive, listening to the town's case. I wouldn't give any, but I think each time that, it's only my twice that I've been there now, but both occasions, and I've had multiple, at least for interactions, conversations in the past 3 weeks. I just don't think we need to do this right now. I think we should steer the course on the door that they've opened for us, and the word flexibility, and there's I don't want to talk about all the things that were talked about in the meeting, but I felt it was a very positive meeting. I really did. You don't have to speak to it. I tried not to talk much in the meeting, but everyone else did talk, and I really want to give a shout out to Mr. Fahey, who I've never been in a meeting with him like that before, who spoke so eloquently and so passionately on behalf of this town. He did a brilliant job in there today, and kudos to him.
Was this the meeting that you had talked about previously,
Yeah,
where staff was meeting with?
Planning board and the town, and
Was there anybody else from the select board that went?
no, I didn't. I wasn't there as a select board member. I was there as a state rep, and I was very clear about that. Senator Driscoll was with me. It was our meeting. It was
So we should have had somebody from the select board there.
So we didn't really. It was really it wasn't our meeting. It was by invitation. They stated who they wanted there. They asked for the planning board and they asked for the town administrator, and the senator and I made sure that happened.
Okay. Well, Nick, I would like to have a conversation with you about what happened at that meeting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He can tell you. I just don't want to.
Yep,
he
I
would
understand
definitely-
that.
oh, yeah.
I would too.
Because yeah.
Happy to.
So
What
ring a dingy tomorrow.
Can I get, what level was it of staff from the HLC? Can you say? Just not, huh?
Chief of staff?
Highest?
Highest.
Okay.
Sure. I can. Yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, I agree with you, Mr. Chair, on that 100%.
I do too.
I might say that, if people individually felt strongly about this, they probably have the ability to file an amicus brief on this.
Yes.
Would that be correct?
I don't think you're even at that point yet. I
don't-
don't think
it's
you
still
need to
too
do
early
anything
for
like
that.
that. No, I don't think.
I can get an answer, and I will let the board know. I don't know anything about courts in terms of preliminary injunction and what that would mean
not a lawyer.
procedurally.
Oh, you're referring to.
I'm like, I'm not a lawyer yet.
I'm
you're
referring to the auditor.
on this.
Yeah, I'm
So-
asking if people individually wanted to make their own.
I don't think
arguments
at
or-
this level there would be briefs in that extent.
Okay.
The
That was
parties
my-
will
that
submit
was my
briefs
question.
to the court, and the court will have a hearing, and then will
Right.
rule at this level. It could
Right.
end
And
up
then
back
if
at the
it
Supreme
get-
Judicial Court
and then
itself.
there's the amicus brief,
And the
okay.
other thing procedurally, from my understanding and talking with town council, is the determination has been made by the auditors. So other communities don't need to seek their own. Whether Milton wants its own is a separate question, but legally, the determination that it's an unfunded mandate has been made, and so it's not a requirement that every community seek its own, but that's kind of a preference rather than a requirement in order to view it as an unfunded mandate.
So it's,
Go ahead.
so it's being done, and the decision that'll come down will come down for
Yes,
everybody.
everyone, that's why.
And if you're saying it's probably not a great idea with what's going on there, then I would agree too.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
the auditor is not the SJC, so the SJC ruling still stands.
What's been disputed.
Yeah,
I
this is
know.
only on this
But
piece of
this,
it
like, this is-
related to
Yeah.
funding, right?
So we don't need to vote on this if we're not
I
going to
don't
do anything
think we
about
do.
it? Okay.
And just for those of you, I was very cognizant of the fact, and I said this to Nick, the fact that currently I'm in both roles, and so I was very careful not to speak about this board or anything that I spoke as a state rep, representing the town.
Can I say one more thing about that?
Sure.
I would hope that you would start to include the representative that represents the actual trolley
They were
section.
there.
Randy was there?
Randy was there?
Her chief of staff was there.
Okay, thank you.
Chief
I just want to
staff
make
there.
sure that she is included in all
Her
this
chief of
stuff too.
staff was there. Okay,
So-
moving on.
Oh,
So,
we still have a little time before we.
Yeah, a couple
start.
minutes. I haven't seen Mr.
We'll
Fernandez
do 9
join
quick.
yet, so yeah, if you want to do that, and then we can go to the other one.
no, 9, oh yeah, discussion approval, town council services for FY 2026. Request for proposals for town council services. Mr. Milano, I'll go to you first.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I, in speaking with members, put this on the agenda and recommend that we move forward with a RFP for town council services. In terms of process and timeline that I'm thinking and open to discussion about that would be, we'll get through town meeting. In the meantime, we'll prepare a solicitation, send it out, and get proposals back shortly after town meeting. Select board set aside a day to conduct interviews and follow up to make a decision. Kind of similar to through the town administrator search process. So we will plan to do that. I had a conversation with Attorney Mello, saying that this seemed like the direction the board may go. He was, and I expressed that MHTL would be welcome to apply.
Yes.
And, you know, expressed his disappointment. But I think, you know, we have had countless conversations since then, so normal business has resumed. And, you know, we have a great working relationship. And so that has continued. So no issues whatsoever in terms of the current provision of services. And that will go through June 30th and may continue depending on the outcome of this search. I know it's something that the town has talked about before. We've been with the same firm for decades, really, and its predecessor
40 years.
firms, I think.
Almost 40 years.
So it's a good exercise to do, and then we can go from there. And we'll reach out to the firms that provide town council services, alert them to the opportunity, and start to solicit interest from there.
So we would have current town council through
Yes.
also through the special in June.
I think that really depends on timeline and the timing of decisions being made and how quickly we move through that process.
Because
They're currently engaged. MHTL is currently engaged, but it might make sense to talk about who would be best to handle that
Okay.
at that
Yeah.
time.
If we could do that, then I think that's better.
Okay.
So just for the members, a similar process. I'm trying to think, it's probably 7 years ago, Mike Dennehy was town administrator. Ms. Conlon, I think, was chair. So when it came to the 7-Eleven, the 7-Eleven Randolph Ave case that was brought on behalf of the ZBA, it was an appeal to this, I think it was to the housing court, and we never, the ZBA really pushed hard that we should have a specialized counsel, so we did a similar, we interviewed several firms before we selected a firm that wound up handling that case for us. And they did some other work for us as well after that. But in the end, we may wound up retaining and keeping the same law firm, but this is something that at least has been suggested my first year here. was on the table then. It's been suggested several times. It's probably not a bad exercise. I think it's good for us to hear and see what else is out there, so.
Do you need a motion to do this?
I have clear direction from the board, so I'm okay with
Great.
proceeding.
You got it. Okay. Item 10, discussion, update.
Mr. Chair, it looks like everybody has joined. If we want to return
on
to the
to-
Governor Stoughton trustees.
I'm going to take 1 second. Can I just step away
Do you
from
want
it?
to
Wait, wait,
recess
wait.
You
first?
want me to
We
call
need-
recess?
We need to recess.
I'm going to call recess to the select board and, let me go back, hold on. Here we are. We're going to convene a meeting of the Governor Stoughton trustees. I'm going to call that meeting, do we need a motion? We need a motion to recess. All those in favor? Say aye. Oh, motion, we need a motion?
I'll make a motion to recess.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now
Do
I'm
you want
gonna,
to take a break before we
yeah, we can take
call to
2 minute
order?
break before we go into this. Let's take 2 minutes. All right,
Yeah.
we'll go. Did we already call to order? No, so I'm going to call to order. Good evening. We're back live. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Governor Stoughton Committee. It's Governor Stoughton trustees. We have several items on our agenda for tonight. Item number 1 is a discussion approval. The Governor Stoughton Trust financials. Mr. Milano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I included this in the select board packet, just an outline of the history on the Governor Stoughton Trustees Fund going back to 18 when the sale proceeds were deposited, fiscal 18 rather, and the history in the usage, as well as showing our earnings year to date. So at the close of fiscal 24, there was $5.6 million in the trust. And just as a reminder, so the sale proceeds of $5 million are in court documents that are not to be used by the town. It'll be treated, or by the trustees, it's to be treated as an endowment, and it can't be used at all. In addition to the land sale, there was an additional payment of $350,000 for easement rights for stormwater utilities on the remaining 4 acres of the town farm. There's been some back and forth as to whether the total endowment is the $5 million and the $350,000 or just the $5 million. We treat it as the $5,350,000. So at June 30th, there was $5.6 million in the trust against a balance or a requirement that the trust maintain $5,350,000, which means there is $250,000 to be appropriated by the trust. While we do have earnings of $180,000 through December of 24, so that's 2 really good quarters of returns, where we try to stay away from utilizing mid-year earnings since they're not closed out to the books quite yet. So the trust has the $250,000 available. We've received requests from BID Milton, the Milton Food Pantry, and the Milton Residence Fund. While that total allocation based on their request does fall below the $250,000, I will just note that earnings have been good in recent years. In years where earnings are not as strong, we would have less money with which to use and utilize, and especially in years where the economy really does struggle and even more people are in need, we might have less money available. So that's the tricky position we find ourselves in on this matter. So that's the financial status. Happy to take any questions on that, and then we can turn over to our guests.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Could you tell us what the total amount that they're asking for this year, what that all totals up to?
I calculated as BID Milton's request, I think, was $25,000. The food pantry was just shy of $90,000, and I had the residence fund at $130,000. That's a total of $245,000. If I heard all of those right and read them all right, and I'm sure they can correct me if I am wrong.
What was the third one?
$130,000 for Milton Residence Fund.
Okay. And the
So
total,
that's $245,000 in total.
and what's the total available?
$250,000.
Okay.
That would bring it right to that spending limit, not including any gains from this fiscal year.
Fiscal year. But then we would go right back to gaining again if something else happened in the middle, a few months from now.
Right. Right now it's market value is north of almost $5.8 million. It's almost $5.8 million right now, but we still have 2 quarters
Right now
to go.
or 2 weeks ago?
December 31, 2024.
Is it December 31? Okay, yeah, that's important clarification.
Right.
I don't know how they did today.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Follow-up question, could you explain how often we allocate funds for people that are watching? So how often do we usually have these requests that they come forward, and do we allocate once a year to the fund?
Correct. Typically,
fund?
we are,
Their annual, yeah.
we've been in a pretty good routine of February, March, the
Okay.
last couple of years. I know the Residence Fund had come in and requested some additional early funding in November of 23, I think.
Yeah.
And Noreen,
Yep.
you can correct me if I have that date right, but
That's right.
there was an earlier request last year.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So you want to just make a motion, pass these on,
Or do
let
we
them all
wanna
go
hear
home, and then we want to make them talk?
It's up to you.
Noreen heard me. I'll do this. Let them,
Go through each one quickly?
yeah, so I'm gonna go through them, but I'm gonna make let's put on the floor for discussion. So I want to make a motion to approve a total of $245,000, broken down in the amounts of $130,000 to the Milton Residence Fund, $90,000 to the Milton Food Pantry, $25,000 to the BI Deaconess Medical Center, Milton Campus. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay,
Okay, go
I'd
ahead.
like to discuss for a minute. I wonder if you can pull out the BI one right
Oh,
now,
yes,
because I'm an
yeah.
employee
Okay,
under
all right,
that
that's right,
system.
okay. So we won't vote yet. We won't, I'm just making that as a motion. You only, you only have to recuse when we vote.
Okay,
But she might want to vote on the other two. If it's
Right.
all
Yes, we'll
one
do that.
motion.
So I'll do,
that's why I
and then I'll
wanted
do
to do the
them.
other two
And then and when we
first.
So
vote, I'll do
retract
one.
your motion.
So I'll
Yes.
retract my motion. So I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make the motion for the first one, I'm gonna leave out BI, and we'll come back and do BI as a separate vote. after
Thank you.
recuse. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Seconded?
Second.
Who seconded? Ms. Bradley? Okay. Ms. Dolan, you're first. Welcome. Are you unmuted? I think she's unmuted. There, Noreen?
Yes,
How
sorry.
are you?
I'm here.
You've got your money, so you can be brief. You don't have to talk long.
Yeah, I'm usually way too long.
This is easy.
So thank you very much, Chairman Wells and trustees of the Governor Stoughton Trust. For those that are watching at home, the information was Governor Stoughton Trust provided us with $140,000 in March of 2024, so last year, and it was expended to date, updated a little from the report that I submitted to the Governor Stoughton trustees, where we've given out 114 grants to Milton families and individuals, all to cover emergency requests for heating assistance, so tanks of winter heating oil, or shut-off notices for gas, shut-off notices for electricity, a rental payment if they were out of work for medical reason or unemployment, but then gained a new employment, medical expenses, and we were able to assist with summer camp for children from low-income families, and some park and rec fees. Some children in town who can't join the basketball or things like that because they can't meet that small fee. So those were distributed. There is about 17,000 left of those funds. And looking at the rate of disbursement, we gave out 17,000 in January and about 8,000 in February. So it will be dispersed very shortly. So this gift will be extremely timely. Most of the gifts, grants are given out. The largest majority is to keep stable housing, so a month of rent or things like that to stabilize housing. Then the second, both around 30,000, were the heating assistance and the electricity assistance. Very small medical assistance, around 1,500 total. And then the camp and park and rec is about 9,000 a year. So just kind of passing on to the select board and the Governor Stoughton trustees and the town of Milton in general, how grateful we are and to be able to support the amount of families and children we can. I think it really does make our community a lot stronger. So I really appreciate the consideration.
Questions? Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you, as you know, it's amazing, the work that you do. A lot of people, you saw us earlier tonight take a vote on a significant override amount for this town, an unprecedented one. But I know that the people that you serve and the residents that you serve, many of them are in positions that they never foresaw or could ever imagine happening to them. But they are residents just like anyone else that lives here, and because of you, their quality of life remains not just higher, but higher for today and hopeful for tomorrow. So for more years than I can remember, you've continued to do this. You're the third director in my 40 years here that I can't believe it's been 40 years, but thank you for this, and thank you for everything you do for the people you serve and the residents of this town.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think, yeah, Pat, with the Milton Community Food Pantry and the Milton Residence Fund, I think it's like really a special thing for this town to be able to support everyone. And there's some incredible families and individuals that we work with. So everyone's working as hard as they can. And I appreciate too the residents of Milton that make donations to both the food pantry and us. So with the select board and the other residents of town, we could really make a big difference. So it's great.
Thank you. Pat, welcome.
Thank you. I, again, very, very appreciative of the consideration of the select board in providing funding to us. We are a totally volunteer group. I mean, we are not paid. All of the funding that you provide for us is going directly into the food purchases that we make, and making sure that the families that are participating at the pantry are able to buy what they need, groceries, with the gift cards that we provide, as well as use the food that is provided to them at no cost in their daily lives to stay away from, to keep away food insufficiency. We currently have 167 Milton families enrolled, and that's 531 residents with 102 elderly residents and 152 children that are all part of our pantry family. We over a 12-month period that ended in the summer of 2024, we served food. We provided food to 6,929 visits of our participants. So that's a considerable amount of food that, through the donations of Milton residents, communities, groups, charitable organizations, grants, and of course, the Governor Stoughton Fund, we have been able to provide that for our neighbors in need. And we're very happy that the board understands the importance of this mission, and that you continue to provide us with funding. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat.
Mr. Wells, could I ask Pat a question?
Sure,
if that's all
absolutely.
right?
Question.
Pat, it's come to my attention that with the recent announcement of tariffs that the...
I'm sorry, I'm having a real hard time hearing, so I'm looking at my closed captions here, so go ahead.
Okay, I'll try to be right into the microphone, although I know that they're going to hate that in the sound room. With the recent introduction of tariffs on Canada and Mexico, much of the fresh fruit and vegetables that we eat, I think 60% of fresh fruit, more than a third of our fresh vegetables come from outside of the United States, most of it from Mexico and Canada. Are you starting to see, and obviously we've had the whole thing with the eggs lately too, so I'm just wondering if maybe, depending on how things go in the next couple of months, it might make sense for us to meet again in June or July if you're seeing skyrocketing fresh produce questions, because we certainly, not only do we want to make sure that people are eating, but we want to make sure that people are getting healthy foods. And I'm extraordinarily concerned about the ability for folks that are reliant on the food pantry for their ability to get access to fresh fruits and vegetables.
Thank you for that concern. We are, in fact, watching that very carefully. I was on a Greater Boston Food Bank phone-in session or seminar yesterday, and there was discussion about the fact that the upcoming tariffs are going to be impacting what they are going to be able to offer. We are concerned, all of us in the service industry, about what this is going to mean to us for fresh produce, of course, and also of other items that we purchase that are non-perishable, because those are also in large part imported items. So it really is a big concern for us just as on a personal level, for me personally, but also for making sure that we are going to be able to provide food for the participants at the food pantry. God willing, we will be able to do that, and certainly if we do have a problem and need to do that, we will definitely come back to the select board and see if there's anything that you can do. We are, as I said in my letter, bumping up our gift card distribution to accommodate the incredible increase in the cost of eggs, butter, dairy products. It's just unbelievable and totally unthought of. But here we are, and so, that is something that we do feel is important for our participants to be able to at least buy a couple of cases of eggs, dozen of eggs over the course of a month. And we only do that distribution once a month. So, it's a very serious environment we live in.
Can I follow up with something? The other thing to keep in mind is that the Healthy Initiatives program, which is run through SNAP, has reduced their amount of reimbursements for farmers markets for their clients. So it used to be $40 a month. It's now only $20 a month. So that's also going to make an impact on the healthy vegetables, fruit and vegetables, and the things that people were relying on getting at the farmers markets. So advocate for that too.
We do, during the summer times, we do have the Brookwood Farm that helps us with fresh produce, which is wonderful. And we do get some fresh produce from local gardeners, which is also great. But it is really going to be very, very tough for folks to eat healthy in the near future.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to first thank both women that have come here. I should have said thank you to Noreen as well for your work. You do terrific work. And for Pat, I know that out of the community.
Thank you.
I know that out of the community health assessment, food insecurity was one of the number one things that came out of that. So hearing that is troubling. You do great work. You're serving a lot of people. Do you have any boxes or anything at any of the schools or library or any sites where people, or town hall, I'm wondering, where people could drop off canned goods, or any recommended lists or anything like that to help supplement? Just wondering for the community at large.
We do have a collection box at the Council on Aging, but that's the only one that we've actually reinstituted since the pandemic. One of the problems that we have is doing the collections. We have a wonderful woman over at the Council on Aging, Lorraine, and her last name is escaping me, who has been meeting me, bringing the donations over to the food pantry for us. We do have from time to time groups that will call and want to do a collection of items, and we are more than welcome to, they are more than welcome to do that. We usually target a particular type of food, and those we organize and those we bring into the pantry and distribute. And recently we had a great, the high school did a chili cook-off for us and collected money for participants in the chili cook-off. And I'll be over there this Thursday. They're going to give us the donation check. So there is a lot of interest in the community in providing us with funding and non-perishable items, and we do work with folks as best we can in terms of trying to make that possible and help them to help us.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you both. Is Pat, you and remember during COVID, to Mr. Zoll's point, COVID clearly changed the world, but it changed your world. And I think in both the serious years, you came to us more than once in each year. So especially based on what Mr. Zoll said, I've had several meetings this month with MassCap, QCAP, all the different New England food banks. So I am familiar with, as you know, I'm very involved at MPK. I'm there tomorrow afternoon. So I understand vividly what you're up against. So know that we're here. And even just don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call Mr. Milano, and we will gladly do whatever we can to help, because it's easy to give. It's very hard to ask. And we know that for the people who you serve, how hard it is, difficult for them to come and ask for help. So whatever we can do, we're here for you in this. And so thank you for letting us help you a little bit tonight.
Mr. Chair, I have an
Go ahead,
idea.
Mr. Zoll.
I wonder if, so we were talking a little bit about having some public forums on some of the articles. I wonder if we encourage folks to bring in like a canned good or something like that and just collect it, particularly if we know there's going to be a lot of folks coming in.
I'm fine with it. I'll do it.
I can, maybe Mr. Milano, I can chat with you about it and set that up.
Mr. Cohen.
I just wanted to say, being new to this myself, but my first one sitting in on, it's sobering to hear how close to home these needs actually are. Really sobering, and thank you very much for what you do.
So just a quick, you might, both of you are familiar, so at the Keeper at Christmas time, one of the biggest things that mothers ask for is something to cook with in their kitchen, because many of them are unable to, don't even have the utensils or the pots and pans. And in the past 3 years, not this year, I think the 2 years prior, we were in crock pot drives. And just from this town alone, we brought well over 300, 350 crock pots and air fryers. And every single one of them went to a family tour. And mothers still, when they make the request, it's the number one request is always like, can I have something in the kitchen that can help me to cook with? So you're doing God's work, so thank you both, and you've given us enough of your time tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Finnan is Rich.
All right, I'm going to recuse
Ms.
myself.
Busto's going to recuse herself. Don't go home.
Try not to.
Good evening. You unmuted? I think.
Yep.
Rich, okay. So the floor is yours.
Great.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hang on one sec. I put on speaker and I don't want to look at myself. I want to look at.
That's all right. We're looking at two of you. I don't know why, but whoever speaks, we get to see you twice.
That's great.
Modern technology.
Well, I really appreciate the time tonight, and I just want to commend Noreen and Pat for your work. Housing and food are critical, and healthcare is kind of that third stool that we know that if you don't have a place to live or, food insecurity or that stuff, healthcare, I'm sure will drop. So we're kind of the backbone there, and we see it in our emergency departments and ambulatory areas, but the town has been a great partner with us. Obviously, we're here for all of our citizens in the town of Milton. We try to support other groups like schools and Council on Aging with other grants, but we have been regularly coming to the Stoughton Fund requesting some support. We do, provide about north of $350,000 a year of free care to patients that, need care, whether it's emergency care or preventive services or other things. We don't ask questions. We just, want to make sure people get their health needs met. So we've been very grateful for your past support and are looking to hopefully continue that. The needs haven't changed, and as everybody has said, due to many circumstances, they may get worse in the short term at the hospitals and the food pantries and housing situations, and the town support is just incredible. So we appreciate your partnership.
Thank you. Questions, comments? So do I have a motion? I need a motion on the final grant, which would be the B.I. Deaconess Milton campus in the amount of $25,000.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Ms. Bradley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cohen. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And there'll be an abstention from Ms. Musto. Oh, no, she
Recusal.
recused from
Yeah,
Ms.
you're all
Musto.
set, Roxanne.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much. Thanks for your
Thank
patience,
you.
your
Do
time.
we still
Oh,
need to vote on the other two? Do we vote on the other two?
we did, no, we voted those.
Oh, we did, all right,
TRYY,
okay.
Roxanne, we voted them all, so those. So, thank you all.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure, go
can I
ahead.
just say one more thing unrelated to the Stoughton Fund? Or maybe I could wait for the select board, but we just had a great groundbreaking
Go ahead.
for our new emergency department that in a year, we're going to double the size of our emergency department to ensure we can get wait times down and people in to see the physicians and nurses a lot quicker. So
That is amazing.
just want to let people know about that.
Good to know.
Thank you.
If I can, Mr. Chair.
ahead, Ms. Bradley.
I had to use your ER services, I think it was in October, and it was miserable, to put it nicely. I had vertigo, and it was awful experience. One of the things that really bothered me
Hey,
is,
HIPAA here.
I know. One of the things that really bothered me was that there was not a lot of communication with the people that were waiting in the waiting area. So I just wanted to flag that for you as something that you could do just to make people a little less anxious. I couldn't even get up and walk, so I was sitting in a wheelchair. I had to call the desk to have them bring me a water. Like, it was just, it was something that I thought about later, and I was like, that would be a really good thing if you just had a little bit more communication. I know it takes people and staff, and once I got back there,
Yep.
they explained it all. It was awesome service. I love the hospital, but I'm so psyched that you are adding on because we need it now more than ever. So thank you for that. And
Yep, no, appreciate your feedback, and no, people are waiting, and we need to be able to better manage that, but the 19 new rooms will get you in a room real quick.
Oh, yeah, they
I'm
will.
not saying people won't wait, but it will be markedly different, so we're
That's
super
amazing.
excited about it.
amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
So, item number 4, discussion approval, we have meeting minutes for March 26, 2024, and August 27, 2024. I'll take them separate. Okay,
Yeah,
so
okay.
do March 1st.
Yep, John has to abstain on the March.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the March
22nd.
22nd.
Motion by Ms. Bradley. Do
I'll
I have a
second.
second, Mr. Zoll. All those in favor?
Aye.
I have an amendment to the minutes for the August 27th.
Go for it.
So in the minutes at the, sort of an item 3 towards the end, this paragraph, I stated at the beginning that I would be voting no, I would be voting no because I was opposed to voting for a full slate. I felt like we should have had a discussion about the representatives, which was all represented there. But then at the bottom, it says Mr. Zoll voted no. Mr. Zoll voted no because he did not support Ms. Musto as the representative. So that's not
Accurate.
correct. It's, so I would just say, you could say I voted no, but my rationale was explained earlier in the minutes.
Okay.
So I would just strike the Mr. Zoll voted no because he did not support Ms. Musto as a representative for the Governor's Stoughton trustees line.
I'll take that amendment. Do you get that, Lynn? Okay.
Thank you, Lynn.
Doing that, okay. So, on August 27th, meetings, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
Motion as amended by Mr. Zoll. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Musto. All those in favor?
Aye.
I have to abstain.
Oh, yeah,
Wasn't
you
there.
weren't there.
You went,
I
okay.
do too, right?
No, you
No,
were
you
there.
were there.
No, you were there.
August.
August.
okay, okay.
So you
That's why I asked you to split them.
So you're a yes?
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn from the Governor Stoughton and return to the select board meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned from Governor Stoughton. We're back on the select board. What night am I at?
10.
Are we-
10.
10.
Should have.
Just gonna approve, okay.
The hospital capacity, did we lose them?
Yeah, that was, sorry.
I knew there was something. I don't know.
Is that why you were laughing?
No, I wasn't
You were
laughing.
laughing because of my personal story?
No. I said to him, I'm looking, I'm like, I think there's something we want to talk to Rich Fernandez about, but I can't
Yeah,
remember what it
sorry.
is. And then I looked down.
And I never even talked to him beforehand, so. if
All right, so why
had
don't we
brought-
defer, let's defer this until,
Yeah.
and maybe
Okay.
we can get him to come back. But we'll
And in
do
the
it like right
meantime, I
away.
can draft something, so
Okay.
something for the board to respond to as well.
Okay.
So we can try to do a little bit more.
Item 11, discussion approval, contract for owner's project manager services for the Cunningham School 3rd and 4th floor renovation project.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Milano.
Chair. So we The project is designed, prepared to go out to bid. While we had a town employee, we were looking at providing the OPM services. That didn't quite work out in the level of time that would need to be required. It makes sense, especially with a renovation project that we're trying to squeeze in a very short window. A professional firm for assistance would be to our benefit. So we did a procurement for an owner's project manager. We had 5 applicants. 2 were ranked ahead of the other 3. They were interviewed last week by Tom McCarthy, Katie Blake, and Nick Connors. They recommended moving forward with Hill Lyro, which is a firm, an owner's project manager firm that has done numerous schools, numerous renovations. They're actually the OPM currently managing the animal shelter project. So they were selected or recommended to be the main selection. Their proposal for the budget is $298,000, which is within the total project budget expectation, within the $5.5 million appropriation. So if the board could approve that, we'll have that signed, and we expect to have bids out in March, bids back in April, May, and work to commence in June for the first year, which would be the 3rd floor work in the library. And then they would come back in next June, once school is out, to do the 4th floor library work upstairs.
So that means the library will be offline for a year?
Correct.
Yeah, they knew that.
Yeah.
That was, when they came to Capitol and presented it, we knew that was going to happen. But in the long term, for right now,
yeah,
this
yeah,
is the
yeah.
only chance.
No, I'm just
we have.
saying that out there so people are
Okay.
hearing that.
So, because there was some feeling that at town meeting previous that they thought of pulling this, and I was like, we're so close, we've done so much to get here, like, we can't let this go. So, do we have a motion? Someone want to make a motion?
So the motion is to approve the recommendation of Hill Lyro for...
And a contract with Hill Lyro, the town standard contract with Hill Lyro.
So I'll make that motion.
I'll
Second by made by Mr. Zoll, second by Ms. Musto. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item 12, discussion approval, board and committees reappointments. Conservation Commission reappointment. We have 1 applicant to be reappointed, 1 member to be reappointed, which is Thomas Palmer. Do I have a move to reappoint Thomas Palmer to the Conservation Commission for a 3-year term?
I move to appoint Thomas Palmer to the Conservation, reappoint Thomas Palmer to the Conservation Commission for a 3-year term.
Made by Ms. Bradley,
A
second.
second.
Second by Ms. Musto. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous, thank you. Item 13, discussion approval, this is a consent agenda. We have 2 one-day liquor licenses for the Milton Arts Center, April 4th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. for the First Friday and Art and Music event. Is that why the swag's here, Mr. Zoll? And item 2, Milton
We
Arts
haven't
Center.
been, we didn't play the last one,
June
unfortunately.
6th,
I saw that.
2025, 6 to 9, First Friday again. So it's for the 2 First Fridays. Do I have a motion to approve? A motion. Do I have
I'll make a
on that?
motion to approve one-day liquor licenses for the Milton Arts Center for April 4th, 2025 from 6 to 9 p.m. and for on June 6th, 2025 from 6 to 9 p.m.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all the way over here to item number...
14.
14, which is
Minutes.
meeting minutes for January 17th, January 28th, February 7th, February 14th, 2025. Do I have a motion to amend those? I guess the move is to approve the amended.
Was
minutes.
everybody at all of those meetings?
Yeah, that's what I'm checking right now.
I think so.
I feel like I missed
What
one.
did we, what's amendment?
Maybe I didn't.
Did you go to chat? Did you go?
No, I had
No, you
COVID.
came in Zoom,
Yeah, I came by
but you
Zoom.
came by Zoom.
Yeah.
They're not in this packet. Where are they?
I know, I didn't see them.
Right, you didn't see them?
No, I don't know where they're. No, I got them. Hold on. On the 28th,
Oh, wait, here's attachments.
you were there.
They're on Lynn's
And Ben
note on
was
Oh,
the
on
7th.
Lynn's one, not Nick's one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
On
the
the
emails.
28th, you were both there. On the 2nd, Ben and you were
Edward was
both
there.
there.
Oh, Richard, you
Right?
weren't there.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
No, I
Chair
wasn't there for
Wells.
open. That's
But
the,
you
that
were
was on
there
the
afterwards.
that's the
seventh,
February
right?
7th meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you
And
can't.
now the 14th.
that's it.
you know,
Everybody was there?
Aaron, everybody's there. And then one last one was the this is today.
That's it.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
that's
it.
it.
So everybody was there for all of them,
Except
except
for
for Richard on the
Richard was
7th?
missing the 7th.
So why don't
Well,
I
it
make,
says absent and not came
That's a
in
separate
late.
motion, that's a separate, yeah, so I'm gonna vote, so we're doing this in two motions. that's
Yep.
right.
Yep.
So the motion that I think I just made, which was the move to approve, I just need a second on it, which is for the 17th, the 28th, and the 14th of February.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr., all those in favor?
Aye.
Now I need someone else to make a motion on the February 7th.
I'll make a motion to accept the, oops, sorry. do
These
you wanna
days
do
I'll
it?
do it. Can I?
Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the
Amended meeting minutes,
amended meeting minutes for the February 7th meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain since I wasn't an open. Okay, item 15, Town Administrator's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not a ton.
Good.
We've been busy with a few different things going on. But just another reminder, our opioid settlement monies and how the town should utilize them. There's a survey that the Health Department has been working on. It's available on the website. If you haven't filled it out, please do so. Unfortunately, tonight we had a conflict, but the East Milton Square Overlay District
It's ongoing
was
as we
at a
speak.
public forum. They had a public forum tonight over in East Milton, so hope they got a good turnout. That was being recorded, so we'll try to get that up on Milton Access TV's YouTube page as well. And then the folks from Connect Milton have reached out about like a municipal finances 101 type presentation, so we're working on firming up a date and a time for that, looking like April 10th that evening. So more of a high-level explanation of how the budget works. And we'll certainly try to do that again next year as we head into the budget season. And then, as the chair noted, we did meet with HLC today. Just in terms of other feedback that we've gotten, they have, not just today, but in other meetings, have stated that they have the public comments. They're reviewing, I think today they put a number, it was north of 850 public comments received, so everything's being reviewed as they prepare to put out final regulations. Weren't necessarily commenting on public comments received. They've been available and very accessible for some technical questions. I joined a call with the consultant in Cheyenne, Frazier, last week with HLC staff as we're working through nuances of potential zoning that would fall under MBTA communities. So that's kind of the status quo, and not much more to report other than what Mr. Wells did, and I'm happy to speak with members in more detail as needed, but that's what I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'm good. Anybody?
I got a couple things.
Go ahead.
I have one thing, actually.
Go ahead.
I don't want to lose the thread of doing Mr. Milano's evaluation.
Right.
I sent you an email about
You
it.
did.
And so I just want to remind everybody that we should try and get that done ASAP.
And I promise that's going to be my weekend project.
I'm going to put it on my weekend project too, and I'll text you, Mr. Chair, and see if we did it.
Cool.
All right.
Text me more than once if it need be.
Just two quick things. So
Sure.
the Milton girls hockey is in the
Yes.
state final at the Garden on Sunday
Sunday.
against Medfield. It would be our first boy or girl, any hockey title for the town. So, yeah, very, very exciting. They came back in like double
Boy,
overtime. So go Wildcats. Also, I know Ms. Musto was there too. We had a nice event on the deck for
Yes,
the beginning of Ramadan. It was really great. It's, again, license plates from even other states. People really come out from lots of communities. We're one of the only towns that does this, something like that. So it was really great to see so many people out and celebrating. There was live music this time too. Not my band, yeah, much better than us.
I'm not going there.
I think you just did.
I'm teasing you. There's enough stress in this job without somebody. Someone recently told me, I said I need to be more serious. Okay, we good? All right, so other than that, public comment, I mean, I think we've addressed everything that people spoke on tonight.
So we didn't address the thing that Mr. Zulus brought to us, which was the fact that the broadband committee has openings and we haven't appointed anybody. So I would like to put appointing people to the broadband committee on for a future meeting, especially not just them, but if there's other committees that have openings that people have applied to. I mean, I've been banging this drum for 3 years now to have people try and apply from all precincts. We really need people to do that, and let's get these things filled.
What are you doing after April?
That's what I was going to say, Ms. Bradley.
I would love to volunteer for one of them. So yes, absolutely.
So that would be a great part of the conversation.
Yes, I will be putting. I can't leave the town. I've been
Teasing you.
working with you guys for 8 years. Come on.
They are, the committee itself is working on their feasibility study for fiber to the home. So they had requested a chance to get in front of the select board as well. So,
Okay.
That timing may work out, but that's just kind of separately that they've asked for some time to come in with the select board as well.
But if there's other committees that have openings like that, and there's no, Mr. Zulus had been with the broadband committee forever, and so, I would just hope that we could make that appointment.
Anything else? We good? Okay, future agenda items, I think we already have a plate full. Anything else that oh, you just did that, okay. So, item 20, executive session pursuant to Mass General Law 38.
We don't need that, Mr. Chair.
We don't need it? Oh,
Not to my
yes.
When your evaluation just went
Hold
up.
on, 21 we do need, sorry.
That was a
Gee, what
roller
a shame.
coaster.
Wow.
That's not on my page. I don't have a 21.
Turn the page.
There's a 21. Oh, no.
Bargaining.
Now the bargaining.
The bargaining.
So,
So we don't need 20, though.
Nope.
I'm going to move to adjourn to open session, enter an executive session based on my belief the discussion of this matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the select board. The select board will not return to open session. I'll list the bargaining units: Milton Gorica Unit, Southeastern Public Employees, Milton Professional Management Association, Milton Public Employee Association, Milton Firefighters 1116, Milton Police Association, Milton Superior Officers, in the Milton Library Association.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we will adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.